Hello, I'm film historian Tony Maeda.
And I'm Brad Shreve, who's just a guy who likes movies.
We discuss movies and television from Hollywood's golden age. We go behind the scenes and share our opinions, too.
And of course, being the average guy, my opinions are the ones that matter.
As does your self-delusion. Welcome to Going Hollywood. Brad, I have a confession to make.
What is it?
I'm feeling a little bit like Jane Fonda today.
You are? In Barbarella?
I'm sitting in front of this mic. I'm feeling like Jane Fonda when they brought her the script for Chinatown. Because, like Jane Fonda, I don't know what the hell this is about. What is going on today?
Tony, this is an easy project. I said, make a list of your top 5 favorite movies and the top 5 movies that are your go-tos, like on a Sunday afternoon, because they're usually not the same list. And we'll talk about it.
Well, they usually are the same list.
For me, they're not. And
I have a couple different ones. Yes. Okay, I see. So this is hello, listener. This is a real change of pace episode for us at Going Hollywood. We're not sticking to just the one film, and we're not doing any deep dives, I'm assuming. Otherwise, we'll be here till next Sunday.
No, I don't want to do a 5-hour episode.
No. Our episodes are long enough as it is. So yeah, so it's kind of, we're doing like an overview is what you're saying, right?
Yes, we're going to go over what you think of the top 5 best movies, what I think of the 5 best movies, and then the 5 movies that we like to watch most. And I will tell, that's where it really tells the difference between you and I, is the movies that we watch the most. I saw your list.
You did. You peeked.
And, well, you told me to peek.
No, I know. I sent it to you. I always get in trouble with that. I tell people to look, and I say, what do you look?
I got an email from a listener that said they really like our format, the highbrow, lowbrow format. I'm like, lowbrow? Are they saying I'm lowbrow? And then I look at the movies you chose as your top 5 go-tos and my top 5 go-tos. I'm like, maybe he's right about the lowbrow.
Well, so, I don't know. I don't know about that. I guess we'll find out, won't we? I mean, I think we just have to get into it because, like Shelley Winters, I'm a very skinny woman in the water. So why don't we just jump into it and see where we go? Hopefully we'll finish and we won't have a heart attack at the end.
I agree. I do want to give one little announcement here. We are finally on Instagram and Facebook.
Oh, we are.
We are on Instagram and Facebook. Listener, I've been posting on there. Nobody's there because we haven't told anybody. But I've been posting because I didn't want anybody to sign up and then just have a blank page.
No,
so
yes. Thank you for doing it.
Kind of silly. Yeah. So here's the deal. We won't or rarely will promote the show. This is all about info about movies and television and anniversaries and birthdays. And we're not going to shout, watch our show, because you know what? If you're going to sign up for us on Instagram and Facebook, you're probably following us already. And you know when we have a new show.
Yeah. After being in Hollywood for 20 plus years, I know that being needy is just not attractive.
Exactly. So just pop on. It's at Going Hollywood Pod on Facebook and Instagram. The links are in the show notes, or you can go to our website, goinghollywoodpodcast.com. You can find them all there. So now let's get back to work.
Okay, you go, because like I said, I'm here for the ride. I'm here for the ride. like Sandra Bullock, I'm here for the ride. Okay, that doesn't even make sense, but go ahead. Because she was driving that bus. Not one of my movies, but I do love it, but not one of my movies.
Okay, to start, we are going to do our top 5 favorites, going from 5 to 1.
Oh, we're going backwards.
Yes, we're going backwards. Why tell them the best at the beginning?
Well, I guess that's kind of true.
Then they just hang up. They're like, okay, that's his best movie. I'm going to go watch it now and hang up.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Okay, let's do it.
All right. Some of these we have covered, so we're not going to go real into depth, but we'll tell you where to find them. So my number 5 film is, no surprise, Deadpool.
Ah, yes. The infamous Deadpool. I believe that. I can see that.
Now, if you think of Deadpool and you think of all the great classics that have been out there, and I'm going to throw out Citizen Kane, which I don't necessarily think so, but it's always at the top of the list. Why in the world would Deadpool be on there? Why do you think I have Deadpool on mine?
The Citizen Kane of Marvel movies? Is that what you're trying to say? I don't know about that. I think it's more the bringing up baby of Marvel movies, because we talked about this, because it's basically an action hero screwball comedy. Why do I think it's on there besides Ryan Reynolds' ass? Can I play on that anymore? I don't know, Brad. Why is it number 5? I thought it'd be number 1, but number 5.
Well, and I actually debated whether to put it on there, and I'm like, God, no, I'm watching this thing all the time. It is definitely up there. First of all, it's a 2016 film directed by Tim Miller. It stars Ryan Reynolds, Marina Bacaro, T.J. Miller, and Ed Skrein. And the reason why I think this movie is top is because to take a superhero movie, to take a movie that is vulgar, to take a movie that is outrageously violent, and have you laughing hysterically all the way through it, and all of it be top quality. The acting is top quality. The writing is top quality. Yes, the special effects are top quality. The story is great. It has everything.
It does.
It has everything.
And Ryan Reynolds' ass.
And Ryan Reynolds' ass. I mean, I watch Ryan Reynolds movies just to watch Ryan Reynolds. This one, I actually get to enjoy it. I did go see Deadpool 3. We won't talk about it. I cried. But anyway, we'll go. Other moviegoers aren't agreeing with me, but I cried. Anyway, this movie is just outstanding.
It is.
You saw it.
I saw it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it very, very much. And you know what? I have a confession to make, and I might as well make this confession now, because I've been holding this secret now for a few months. When we gave each other movies, and I gave you Babyface, and you said, "Have you ever seen Deadpool?" I lied.
Oh, no.
I had seen it.
You bitch.
Oh, I know. When I knew that I could get away with it.
You have...
I did. I saw it. I remembered. I saw it like 10 years ago. 10 years ago. In my defense, I didn't remember that I saw it. But then when I was watching it, I went, "Oh, I've seen this." And I thought, well, I'm not going to tell Brad already. So I don't want to watch another one. So I'll just watch this one.
And you had told me many, many times you had never seen any of these films.
Well, I was an actor for all those years.
Well, it had to be 8 years ago because it came out in 2016.
It was. So yeah, I had seen it. I didn't remember it though. I was kind of like you with Chinatown. I had no recollection of it. So it was fun to watch it again, and I do love it. I can see why it's on there. You know, Ryan Reynolds in a B. Arthur t-shirt, I will always go for. I think it was fabulous.
And a little update, listener, if you listen to that Deadpool episode, and I'll give you the date when it was on in just a moment, I brought up to Tony that they did a test run of this film, and Fox said no. And somebody leaked the footage to the test because they knew what people are of Deadpool. And the story has always been that maybe it was Ryan Reynolds. Well, I sent a video to Tony just recently where Ryan Reynolds was hooked up to a lie detector. Did you watch it, Tony?
Mm-hmm. I did. Or did I?
I won't say he admitted it. He kind of sort of admitted that he did.
Yeah. It was cute. It's cute.
If you turned your nose up at Deadpool, don't do so. You'll be really surprised. I think Tony was surprised he liked it.
I was surprised. I was surprised again that I liked it.
It was episode number 8. It came out on May 28, 2024.
Oh, wow. You have dates, too. Well.
Yes, I do.
I don't.
I'll look. I've already looked up yours.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, you're lucky. I knew what to expect of you.
Hey, I said, you're flying this plane, Karen Black, not me. So, okay? All right.
Yeah, okay, time for your number 5.
My number 5 will not be any surprise to anybody else because I've said it before on this podcast. In fact, I said it when we did the episode because it nudged out what used to be my number 5 to number 6. Or 5B, I think is what I called it. So, my 5 is, of course, Postcards from the Edge. Now, what more is there possibly to say about Postcards from the Edge? Instant gratification takes too long, so I'm going to tell you now. There's really nothing more to say about Postcards from the Edge. It's a brilliant, funny, genius movie. Watch it. If you haven't seen it, why haven't you seen it? Everybody knows about it. I went on and on and on and on and on about it a couple weeks ago, right?
Well, we can't assume everybody listened to that episode.
That's true.
Yet. So I'll just say it's a 1990 Mike Nichols comedy drama based on the novel of the same name by Carrie Fisher, who Tony and I both love and adore. And it stars Meryl Streep and Shirley MacLaine. And yes, to the person who just turned on this podcast for the first time ever, Tony kind of assumes that everybody's listened to every episode before. So no, Tony, that is not the case.
Well, I do.
So just give a taste of why this film.
And I kind of assume everybody's watched Postcards from the Edge too. Postcards from the Edge, yes. It's Carrie Fisher's Romane Clef, an emotional autobiography, as she calls it, faction. It's fact and fiction about her relationship with her mother, Debbie Reynolds. Meryl Streep, the divine goddess Meryl Streep, plays Suzanne Vale, who is an actress recently out of rehab, who has to live with her mother, which is a ridiculous scenario, and Carrie Fisher agreed, has to live with her mother in order to be bonded to work in a film that she wants to do. So it's about the relationship between these two women. It is full of some of the brightest, sharpest Carrie Fisherisms, and it's also quite heartwarming. There's some wonderful and very moving scenes between the two women. I urge you to go watch Postcards from the Edge. You will not be disappointed. It's only like 90 minutes. And you get to see, here we go again. This podcast is always like this. And you get to see Dennis Quaid almost naked. So there you go. Before he turned into a nut job.
Yes. So he was still sexy because we didn't know he was a nut job yet. So kind of put that to the side. And I was kind of disgruntled when Tony said, let's do this film, because I had remembered I didn't like this film at all. And I was pleasantly surprised. I really enjoyed it. I don't know why. Maybe I was in a bad mood the day I watched it before, because I really enjoyed it this time around.
Yeah, you said you fell asleep.
I fell asleep recently when I tried to watch it again. So I thought, God, I did hate it as much as I remember.
This is not a ringing endorsement.
But a long time ago, I remembered
this is
that
not
I
a
didn't
ringing
like
endorsement.
it. No, it's great. It's a great film. I actually was quite surprised. I really enjoyed it.
Good, I'm glad, yes. It's a wonderful film.
Yes.
My number 5.
Yeah, I did not fall asleep because it was boring. Not
all right, Brad, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is the one that I am still just amazed is not in your top 5 list, even though I know you've got Postcards on the Edge there. It just floors me that you do not have What's Up, Doc.
It's 5B. Give me a break. It's 5B.
I know. It just hurts. It just hurts. In case you don't know, What's Up, Doc is a 1972 screwball comedy produced and directed, and I'm going to get it wrong because I always do, Tony. You have to fix it for me, by Peter Bogdanovich. Did I get it?
That's right. You got it right.
I'm usually so good at names, but his really throws me off. It was the third highest grossing film of 1972. It's 90 minutes long. It has an incredible cast, wonderful scenes. The lines are all perfect. It never relaxes.
It's a living cartoon.
It is a living cartoon.
Peter Bogdanovich wanted to do a tribute to the films he loved as a child, which were the screwballs, the great screwballs of the 30s and early 40s. And he wanted to have Barbra Streisand in it. And Barbra Streisand was dating Ryan O'Neal, and so she wanted him in it. And everybody wanted Madeline Kahn in it. It's Madeline Kahn's film debut, and there has never been a more hysterically funny performance as a film debut, I think, ever. It's a brilliant, brilliant performance.
What's Up, Doc is worth watching just to see Madeline Kahn. The icing on the cake is every other second when she's not there is just as delicious.
Just as delicious. I mean, you have Austin Pendleton, you have Kenneth Mars, you have Mabel Albertson, you have Sorrel Brooke, you have Liam Dunn playing her father, playing the judge, one after the other after the other. And it's just a fast-paced, funny screwball comedy, which is set in the present era. So he created a living cartoon and he created a modern screwball comedy. So I guess that brings me to my number 4, right? Which is a new film that we haven't talked about. So,
well, it's not a new film.
It's not a new film because we're classic Hollywood. So it's not a new film at all. It's from 1952. And it's a little musicale entertainment called Singin' in the Rain. Now, I don't want to say a lot about Singin' in the Rain because we are going to talk about Singin' in the Rain shortly because we have to, because it really, truly is. And I don't think it's disputed that it is truly the greatest movie musical of all time, because it's such a wonderful, funny. I think that's the thing that people love about Singin' in the Rain. Somebody called it the musical for people who don't like musicals, because I think most people think of a musical, they think, suddenly the action stops and the hero and the heroine look at each other's eyes and sing a ridiculous love song and everybody gets uncomfortable. And yeah, there are some like that. That's not Singin' in the Rain. Singin' in the Rain is a satire of the early days of talking film in Hollywood. And it's actually based on a lot of true stories, Betty Comden and Adolph Green, who wrote the screenplay to Singin' in the Rain, talked to a lot of old-timers on the MGM lot, because this was 52, 51. They were still living. People were still around who remembered what the transition from silent film to sound was like. They got some great stories, and they put all, and the genesis of, here I am going into it, and I said we were going to go into this. It's the genesis of it is basically Arthur Freed's songbook. Arthur Freed, it was the producer responsible for the great MGM musicals. And before he became a producer, he was a songwriter, and he still occasionally wrote songs. And he said, I want to do a movie with my songs in it. And his songs happen to take place at the same time as the transition to sound. So that's what's wonderful about Singin' in the Rain is it's a satire, but it has a lot of truthful elements to it, which I think are wonderful. And just like What's Up, Doc, one of the best reasons to watch Singin' in the Rain doesn't have anything to do with the singing or the rain, but has a lot to do with the brilliant performance of Jean Hagen as the most insufferable, unaware silent screen star of all time, Lena Lamont. She of course we talk, don't everybody? So you kind of get the reason, you kind of get the idea of her character in Singin' in the Rain. It also is also one of Debbie Reynolds' first films, kind of a tie into Postcards there. And Debbie Reynolds is 19 years old and is so luminous and fresh-faced. And it's a wonderful film. Even if you don't like musicals, and that's the point, you'll love Singin' in the Rain. We're starting to get
going back and forth to Debbie Reynolds like we have been doing with Barbara Streisand for some reason.
I know. What's up, Doc, with that?
I don't know.
It's strange, crazy.
So if you don't know about Singin' in the Rain, and because either you've been under a rock or you're so young, I wonder why you're listening to two old guys on a podcast.
Excuse me.
It's a 1952 musical romance comedy by Gene Kelly and Stanley, is it Donen?
Donen, yes.
It stars Gene Kelly, Debbie Reynolds, and Donald O'Connor, and it is a classic.
Absolutely. All right, Brad, on to your number 3.
My number 3 is, no surprise here, I consider one of the absolute greatest movies of all time, Chinatown. We just did it a few weeks ago. There's not much we can say other than I'll say it's a 1974 drama mystery directed by Roman Polanski. It is film noir starring Jack Nicholson, Faye Dunaway, John Huston. It may be the best screenplay ever written. It certainly is rated that. And it's hard for me to express how much I love this film. It's just amazing. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it's so funny because like the film itself, our episode that we did on Chinatown kind of lingers with me because I just, it's such an incredible film. I still think about it. I watched Chinatown 3 or 4 times before we recorded our episode because I was so determined to give the movie the respect that it deserves. And I think I said about 12 million times on our podcast that it's the apex of the Paramount Mountain. And I completely, my opinion has not changed in the few short weeks since we talked about Chinatown. So I want people to go out and watch Chinatown, be blown away by Chinatown, and then listen to our podcast about Chinatown because it will change your life. Chinatown and our podcast.
Both will. And I will say this, we kept scheduling to record about Chinatown, and Tony kept saying, let's push it back. Let's push it back because he wanted to make sure he just really nailed it because this film is just that. It's just so that.
I think I said I was scared of Chinatown.
Yes, you did. And you had it right.
Which is pretty appropriate if you've ever seen Chinatown.
Yes.
Because you know what? Forget it, Brad. It's Chinatown.
So just a quick idea. It concerns political corruption and love and family entanglements and
the water wars.
All of the water wars of Los Angeles, and there was a murder, of course, and Jack Nicholson's character is the PI trying to solve the case. And is it personal as a business? It's all, it's just, there's so many pieces to this incredible, incredible story.
Yes. Did you say, I wasn't listening to you. Did you say who's in it? Did you say Jack Nicholson, Faye Dunaway, and John Huston?
Well, I'm used to you not listening to me, but this time you're right. I did not say that.
Yes. John Huston in one of his rare acting roles. He had a couple near the end of his life, but it's John Huston. It's the Maltese Falcon, Prizzi's Honor, The Asphalt Jungle. I mean, John Huston, and he plays the ultimate villain in this. I probably shouldn't say that because people haven't seen it, so that's why I'm going to stop talking. But go watch Chinatown.
It's a movie that made me ask, why didn't John Huston do more films?
Yes, exactly. As an actor, not as a director.
Yes. Why didn't he do more acting films?
Yeah. Okay, we on to my number 3 now?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so my number 3 is also a film we haven't talked about, which I would like to talk about one day. My third favorite film of all time, and it's a wonderful 1943 comedy called The More the Merrier, starring one of my favorite actresses and one of the tragically unknown actresses today, Jean Arthur. Jean Arthur is a gem. Jean Arthur was a wonderful comedic actress. She also did drama too, but she did movies from the silent era up until her final film was Shane in 1952. She is a marvelous, wonderful actress. She looks a little bit like the Broadway star Mary Martin, except her voice, they used to call her the Velvet Foghorn, because she has a wonderful comic voice. So The More the Merrier stars Jean Arthur, Joel McCrea, and Charles Coburn in an Oscar-winning role as Mr. Dingle. And it's directed by the great George Stevens, one of the legendary directors of Hollywood's golden age. He did Giant. He did A Place in the Sun. He did Alice Adams with Katharine Hepburn, another favorite of mine, although it didn't make my list. The More the Merrier is about... Jean Arthur plays Connie Milligan, who is a young girl living in Washington, D.C. during World War II when there's a housing shortage. And to be patriotic, she decides she wants to rent out half of her house. And against her better judgment, she rents out half of her apartment to Charles Coburn, who is an old elderly gentleman who's just visiting town for a few days, but there's no hotels. It's the wartime. So she reluctantly rents out half of her apartment to Charles Coburn, who then turns to rent half of his half, to the very handsome young Joel McCrea. And as you can imagine, 3 is not company. When Connie finds out, 3 is definitely a crowd. And of course, it all ends happily. They fall in love. Charles Coburn has done his Cupid best to bring them together. It's just a wonderful, delightful, heartwarming movie. It's not really a screwball. It's not really a screwball because they're a screwball. It has moments of, it's during the war. So this was actually George Stevens' final film before he went off to World War II. And when he came back from World War II, he never made a comedy again. So this was also George Stevens' last comedy. But I highly recommend it if you want just a wonderful, fun, black and white utopian experience.
And this is one we need to do because I have never seen this film. It has been on my list for the longest time.
Mm-hmm. Is it really?
I've never seen it. Yeah. And when I was looking at it again, because I knew you were going to talk about it, I'm like, God, why? This movie sounds fantastic. Why have I never watched it? And I will say the movie poster for 1943 was rather shocking.
It was. Well, here's another shocking thing. Jean Arthur was in her early 40s. The movie poster is of her in a bathing suit, a 40s bathing suit. And something about it's like home. I think the tagline is "Home is a place where you hang your guests" or something silly like that.
And she has a rather seductive look.
She does. And okay. 1943, kind of risque for 43, although Rita Hayworth's, famous pinup had been up by then in a negligee. But Jean Arthur, good for you, girl. Early 40s doing that. So yeah, it's a wonderful. Yeah. I love it so much because of my deep love for Jean Arthur. Jean Arthur was an actress who desperately needs reappraisal and rediscovery because she is a true gem. She did a lot of films with Frank Capra. She did Mr. Smith Goes to Washington with Jimmy Stewart. She was in You Can't Take It With You. Mr. Deeds Goes to Town. She was a big Capra actress, but she also did movies with George Stevens. She's in a wonderful Billy Wilder film called A Foreign Affair. So if you can seek out Jean Arthur films, I so urge you to do it because you will fall in love with her. She's a wonderful, wonderful actress.
We'll have to look at her calendar and put it on.
Oh, absolutely.
On the slate
absolutely. There. So that was my number 3. What's your number 2, Brad?
My number 2. This movie is the very first R-rated movie I saw in a movie theater.
Oh, really?
I was too young to be there, but I was friends with my next door neighbors in Pennsylvania. Lived there for a couple of years, and their mom, who was the overtop fun mother of the neighborhood.
Yeah,
she took a bunch of us to Blazing Saddles. And I love Blazing Saddles. It is just, I never get tired of this movie.
You know they're re-releasing it into theaters in a couple weeks, right?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know this. Whenever this drops, it'll probably be gone by the time this drops. But yes, it's one of those Fandango film events. Yeah,
It's not going to be edited, as I hope.
no, it's the main. It's they're just showing it in the theaters.
Okay,
Fandango does that once in a while. They'll do these screenings, of classic films. And Blazing Saddles, I just saw it yesterday when I was at the theater.
Well, Blazing Saddles is a 1974 comedy directed by Mel Brooks, who's made some other incredible movies. It's a comedy western, actually. Written by Brooks and Norman Steinberg, Andrew Bergman, and Alan Uger, and Richard Pryor. It stars Cleavon Little, Gene Wilder, Slim Pickens, Harvey Korman, Madeline Kahn again, and many, many more that deserve to be mentioned, but we just don't have the time. It was nominated for 3 Academy Awards, including Best Supporting Actress for Ms. Khan, the wonderful goddess Ms. Khan, as Lily von Strupp. The movie takes place in 1874. It's a western territorial town of Rock Ridge, which is smack in the middle of where the new railroad is planned. The good people of the town, who have all the last name of Johnson, including Howard Johnson, who has an orange roof on his outhouse.
Oh, I love it. It's funny because so many, I think we talked about this during our What's Up Doc episode, so many of the actors from What's Up Doc suddenly became Mel Brooks repertory players. And, you have Liam Dunn, you have Madeline Kahn, you have John Hillerman. I mean, they're just brilliant in this movie. And here's something fun to do if you want to do it. Watch Madeline Kahn on What's Up Doc, and then watch Madeline Kahn on Paper Moon, and then watch Madeline Kahn on Blazing Saddles. 3 different characters completely. I mean, Eunice Burns, Trixie Delight, and Lily von Stupp, same actress, brilliant performances.
Every single one of them. Absolutely.
Yes.
Now, the reasons I think this movie is number 2 is, 1, it's just hysterical.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, it took risks. I mean, it took big risks.
Oh, big risks.
It could never be made today. If you're not familiar with this film, it takes a stab at racism it takes more than a stab at racism.
more than it bludgeons. It takes a bayonet to racism.
You're going to find yourself laughing and being uncomfortable that you're laughing.
Yes.
But you got to realize this is kind of a Norman Lear-esque. What Norman Lear did with Archie Bunker on All in the Family is what Mel Brooks did here.
Yeah.
And the other writers. He gets the credit deserved, but can't forget there were others involved in making this film. The laugh is on the bigots.
Yes. It makes fun of the bigot, thereby highlighting his bigotry.
Yes, exactly. So it's hysterical. It takes the risk. Deadpool has nothing on breaking the fourth wall than Blazing Saddles.
No.
I mean,
Mel Brooks was doing it long before.
Oh, yeah. And this movie was probably the one I think that did it the most that I can recall. I mean, Spaceballs, he did it big time as well. He did it all of them.
Yeah, and History of the World. Well, it's Mel Brooks. That's what he did.
Yeah.
It's funny, like you, I saw this shockingly young. I was shockingly young when I saw Blazing Saddles. I don't know why my parents let me watch it either. And it's funny because there are 2 films. Both of them have Madeline Kahn in it. I can remember there were 2 scenes which made me, my young, however old I was, 7 or 8, year old little boy, laugh. I couldn't stop laughing. The one was Paper Moon, which I'll talk about when we talk about Paper Moon, because we will talk about Paper Moon.
Yes.
It's a wonderful film. The second one was in Blazing Saddles. And it's when this is going to sound terrible, but when they're stomach punching the old woman when they're taking over the town, and they stop and she pulls away and she looks right at the camera and she says, "Have you ever seen such cruelty?" And they turn and start punching her again. I could not stop laughing at that scene.
I could go on and on about the gets that. Here's the thing, the beauty of this film. There is so much thrown at you. Some of the jokes fall flat, but he throws them at you so fast you forget them because the next one has you bent over laughing and holding your stomach.
Yeah.
It's
a fun movie.
Yeah, it is. And the one that gets me every single time is the toll booth. The bad guys are rushing through the desert to get to the town. And sorry if I'm going to spoil it, but anyway, let's just say this. The bad guys come to a toll booth in the middle of the desert. And instead of going around, they have to go back to get a shitload of dimes to do their rampage. It's just absurd.
It's an absurd film, but it's so much fun. Okay, then we're on to my number 2. Is that what we're up to?
Yes.
My number 2. Well, my number 2 should be no surprise to anybody who listens to Going Hollywood. podcast is the questionable inspiration for What's Up, Doc? What's Up, Doc was inspired by a lot of screwball comedies, but the one that is most frequently cited is my number 2, which, of course, is 1938's Bringing Up Baby, starring the effervescent Katharine Hepburn and the always handsome, always sexy, always hysterical Cary Grant. As David Huxley, Hepburn plays an heiress, Susan Vance, who had just happened to have a pet leopard that she's trying to take care of. And she meets mild-mannered paleontologist David Huxley on the golf course one very fateful afternoon when he is just about to get married to kind of a Eunice Burns type character named Alice. And she proceeds to turn his life upside down because she falls in love with him. And it's just 108 minutes of mayhem and madness. And it, to me, and I said this during our episode, it is the ultimate screwball farce. Farce is concerned with nothing but itself. It's untethered to any sort of reality other than its own. And you have to realize that when you watch Bringing Up Baby, because everybody in Bringing Up Baby is absolutely insane.
Everyone.
There's not one sane person. Usually you have one person. One person acts as your portal or your entrance into a crazy world. One person to identify with. No. Everybody's nuts in Bringing Up Baby. Cary Grant, Katharine Hepburn, May Robeson, her aunt Charlie Ruggles. I mean, everybody's nuts in this film. And it's just a wonderful... If you give yourself over to it, you will not be disappointed. It's a wonderful, insane ride that just takes you on. Like I said, it's 108 minutes of mayhem, madness, and magic.
And I really enjoyed this. It is very close to my top.
Mm-hmm.
There was a point of contention when Tony and I did the Bringing Up Baby, What's Up Doc, the third episode, the big Bringing Up Baby, What's Up Doc episode, that I was surprised What's Up Doc was not in Tony's top 5.
Yes.
What's Up Doc is better. I think What's Up Doc is better. Tony disagrees, but I can see.
Yes, it's
a great film. Great film. It's absolutely.
I think, as I said at the time, as much as I'm a huge Streisand fan, and as much as I lust over 1972 Ryan O'Neal, I will always take Hepburn and Grant at their peak in 1938. Their peak as a pair, because they did several films together. They were a wonderful, wonderful pair. And as comedic performers, you just can't touch them. You can't touch them in this film. All right, on to your number 1, Brad.
My number 1. This is a movie that I am really surprised more people don't know. It was a huge hit when it came out. It's Network.
Yes. I'm kind of astounded that Network. Now who's highbrow, who's lowbrow here? Network is your number one. A Patty Chayefsky film is your number 1 film. When people find out what my number 1 film is, and I doubt anyone's going to be surprised, they're going to be like, wait a minute, who's highbrow and who's lowbrow? What?
Network, every time I watch it, I'm just blown away. Network is a 1976 black comedy with an emphasis on the black. The movie poster told audience to prepare for a perfectly outrageous motion picture. But you know what? It's not so outrageous anymore.
Oh, it sure as hell isn't.
No,
it's tame.
This movie had foresight into what future of network news and network television was going to be. It seemed absurd at the time, and boy, they
just future society, not even television. This shit has bled into society. Anybody who's alive in the United States in 2024 will know what we're talking about.
Now, we'll say there are a lot of cultural references that will be difficult to understand, or you may not understand, because it does talk about a lot of things that were going on during the early 70s in the news. But don't let that hold you back, because the meat and potatoes of this film will stay true forever. Okay, so let me give a quick overview of what this film is about. And I'm trying to...
But don't give too much away, because I'm sure we're going to talk about it soon.
We are going to talk about it. I don't want to give too much away. Okay, here's the deal.
Whet the appetite. Whet their appetite.
Okay, I'll just whet your appetite. First of all, Faye Dunaway.
Oh.
We talked about... Tony was saying that Faye was warm in Chinatown.
I said she was sympathetic in Chinatown.
She was sympathetic, yes. If you want to see her be a cold, hard bitch and do it well...
Don't watch Mommy Dearest.
Watch Network. Oh, my God.
Oh, God. She's chilling in Network. She's
absolutely chilling
in Network. She is. You see why she won Best Actress.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, we've talked a lot about Faye Dunaway. Everyone gives Faye a lot of grief. There's a wonderful documentary on HBO called Faye. And she's a nut job. But there's no denying that that's a brilliant madness because she is chilling in network. She is she gives me chills. She's incredible. She's incredible in network.
Yeah, and the cast aside from her, we have William Holden, Peter Finch, just an amazing cast.
Beatrice Straight won Best Supporting Actress for the shortest performance in Oscar history. What is it like?
Oh, it's very short. It's
a little over 5 minutes, I think.
Yeah, she plays William Holden's wife.
Right, right. Robert Duvall, isn't it? Robert Duvall's
in it.
Robert Duvall's really the evil behind, and we talk about Faye Dunaway being, the evil. It's actually Robert Duvall, but Faye Dunaway is right up there with him. Yes, and Peter Finch won a posthumous Best Actor Oscar for his performance in Network as Howard
If
Beale.
You've heard I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore and don't know where it came from, now you know.
It's that movie. It's that movie. Yes, I was wondering if you're going to say that.
So we're going to go into this film. The only thing I'll say that today, network news in most networks falls under the entertainment division. That didn't used to be the case. This movie foresaw that happening. In addition, this movie foresaw reality television and more. And that's all I'm going to say. They were way ahead of their time.
They were.
It is beautifully written. It's funny. It's disturbing to no end. It checks all the boxes. There are a few lulls, I think, when it comes to Holden and Dunaway's relationship, but they're very minor, and actually they're critical to the show. So
yes,
overall, it just goes at record speed, and you've never seen more people you love to hate.
I so admire William Holden for this performance. It was pretty late in his life. He died not much long after this, maybe 5 years. And he had such a huge career in the 50s. I mean, he was the ultimate movie star, really, in the 50s. I shouldn't say ultimate movie star. I should say the ultimate matinee idol would probably be better. Romantic leading man. And he's just so incredible in Network. He's us in Network. He is the normal people who are looking around and going, what the hell is going on? And he's powerless to stop it. That's all I'm going to say about Network.
I could go on and on and on. I'm going to bite my tongue because we have got to go over this film. It is.
We'll save it for our show.
It's just, I love this film.
Yeah,
Let's go. You're number one, Tony.
Yeah, I love that. Well, it's funny you should mention about precursor to reality TV because no surprise to everybody. For goodness sake. My number one is Grey Gardens. Yes, it is. That was more Edith Bunker than it was Little Edie. I'm gonna have to work on it. It was an Edie though.
Pretty well.
It was an Edie.
Usually. That did something more like.
For goodness sake.
Oh, ouchie.
That's pretty good. Oh my! Yes, my number one.
We got sidetracked. No, we are not discussing All in the Family. Go back to where you.
So yes, my number one is, of course, if anybody knows me, they know it. It's Grey Gardens. How could it not be? I've lived with this film for well over a decade now. I co-wrote a book, The Marble Faun of Grey Gardens, with the Marble Faun himself, Jerry Torrey. He was our guest on our show early on, as was an episode just about Grey Gardens and the background of Grey Gardens. For people who don't know what Grey Gardens is about, I'm going to say it one more time. It's a 1975 documentary by Albert and David Maysles about Edith Bouvier Beale and her daughter Edie, who just happened to be the aunt and cousin of a certain first lady named Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. If that wasn't enough, they live in absolute squalor and degradation in an East Hampton mansion. That's pretty much from the back of my book. I have it down.
Which I will do a plug.
Oh, well,
I will do a plug. Tony and Jerry's book is excellent.
Thank you very much. Yes, and they don't live alone in Grey Gardens. They also live with 52 cats, fleas, dead cat carcasses, piles of garbage, piles of cat food cans. If you like hoarders, you're going to like Grey Gardens. It's a fascinating, searing, disturbing, heartwarming, I think it's hysterically funny sometimes. Look at the lives of these two iconoclastic women who speak like Tennessee Williams heroines. Their command of the language is so facile, and yet cats are going to the bathroom behind their paintings, and raccoons are tearing holes in the walls and eating loaves and loaves of Wonder Bread. It's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling. And Jerry, who is the marble faun, was a young runaway who was basically the caretaker of the house. So that's why our book is called The Marble Faun of Grey Gardens. So, yeah, I mean, you knew Grey Gardens would be my number one, right?
Actually, I didn't know where it would stand in there.
Really?
I didn't know it would be number one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because there's a documentary, and I think maybe a lot of people think a narrative, maybe a narrative film or a Hollywood film would be my number one. But no, as long as I've lived with Grey Gardens for so long, and so I feel like I was at Grey Gardens. I mean, that's how much I love Grey Gardens. So definitely, it's going to be my number one. It
grabbed me. It's like, I'm hesitant to say this, but I'm going to say it. It's like watching a train wreck, but that sounds bad because I say that because it's disturbing, but you can't let go. But it's not a train wreck in the fact that the Beals never would have said it was a train wreck.
No, they would not have. They found such joy in their everyday lives. I think I said that, they were denied, society denied them being the artists they were by nature, so they made their lives their art. And it truly is. That's where the joy comes in. They find joy in their lives. They see nothing crazy wrong about the way they live. This is what life has given them, and they're going to enjoy their life. So for me, it has a very positive message. A lot of people don't see that. I see that. That's why I love it so much and why I find it so uplifting. So yeah, it's available I'm sure it's on YouTube. I first saw it on the DVD. If people still have DVDs, Criterion does it, but you can watch it on TCM on demand. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And there was a Jessica Lange, Drew Barrymore film. There was a sequel to the documentary. There was a Broadway musical. So yeah, it's out there. Watch it. You won't forget it.
And you may know this more than I would. To me, they would know it's a train wreck, but they are okay with that.
Well, I don't know if they're not ignorant. They're very intelligent women. They know they're not living the life of high society anymore with maids and butlers. And they're aware of their situation, their circumstances. The point is they make the most of it. And we're going around bitching about our fabulous lives and everything that we have to put up with on the 405 or the 101. I guess I'm thinking about me in Hollywood. These were some women who had some challenges, and yet they managed to maintain the power of positive thinking. And they didn't just make lemonade out of lemons. They made champagne. Dom Perignon.
Tony, you know how much we enjoy when we get messages on Messenger or emails or text messages from listeners about how much they enjoy the show.
We do.
I think I'm going to push it a little bit and ask them to go further.
Ooh, a challenge.
A challenge indeed. Listener, if you enjoy this show, rate and review us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to us. Give us a 5-star because we think we're worth it.
Absolutely.
And if you don't think we're worth a 5-star, if you want to give us a 1-star, don't do a 1-star. Just move along.
No, you don't need to do. What is that? No, don't leave a 1-star. Be kind. Just say, you know what? It's not for me, but it might be for some of my friends, so I should tell them.
That's even more important than leaving a review.
That's right. Yeah, tell your friends. I have this great, fun podcast with these two kooky guys, wild and crazy. I'm not going to do Steve Martin. These two kooky guys who talk about movies and TV. And we run the gamut. We have everything.
We're all over the place, but in a good way.
Yeah, that's a better way to put it. We're all over the place.
So do it now before you forget. Tell them.
So that's my number one. Are we so those are our top five films that we love. What are we doing now?
Now we are doing the 5 go-to movies. Like if we plop down on the couch, what are we most likely to put on?
Okay. Spoiler alert. I'm going to have some repeats.
And so I think I have a few, like at least a couple.
Okay.
But Tony and I looked at this very differently because this is where my lowbrow comes in. I'm going to give an example that did not make it on my list, but it was very close. 2 of them. Actually, I'll give 3 examples that if folks may have seen these movies. One is Volcano, which is a disaster film starring Tommy Lee Jones, where the La Brea tar pits in the center of Los Angeles turns into a volcano, and Tommy Lee Jones himself has to save the city.
God, Tommy Lee Jones, save me.
The other one is The Core. Absolutely horrible breaks all the laws of science films. The other one is this one. Well, I'm going to skip it because I was going to say it's a movie about bug aliens, and it's on a lot of people's list. It's not really on mine.
About bug aliens?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Starship Troopers. It's about aliens that are bugs that are attacking Earth.
Oh, Jesus.
It's kind of a fun movie, but some people like really, really love the film. I'm not in that camp.
I think I had an apartment in North Hollywood one time.
The first two films, Volcano and The Core, they're bad films, but they're mindless films. And then not only are they bad films, they're well done quality-wise. They had a good budget. They had a good cast. They just a ridiculous script. And the good thing about Volcano is it never took itself seriously, so you don't have to kind of like poo-poo at it.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. But they didn't make my list. But that's my idea of a go-to movie.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Where you have, like, some of the films you have, I'm like, oh, I'd have to think too much for that.
Well, yeah, mine are comfort. Mine are like, I've had a hard day. I'm feeling bad. Wine. I'm going to put on Funny Girl.
Yes. So you can go ahead. Talk. There's one of them.
I'm not feeling gay enough. I'm going to put on Funny Girl. Yes, Funny Girl. I toggled back and forth between Funny Girl and High Anxiety as my number 5. Because you and I, we're like Blazing Saddles versus High Anxiety. I know you love Blazing Saddles. I like Blazing Saddles, but I always would prefer High Anxiety. High Anxiety.
I love High Anxiety.
Another Mel Brooks. And Mel Brooks in High Anxiety, Mel Brooks takes on Hitchcock. And it's wonderfully funny, hysterical film with Cloris Leachman in the divine Madeline Kahn and just Howard Morris and just some wonderful Harvey Korman. My God, it takes place in a mental institution. So there's takeoffs on Spellbound, and there's takeoffs on North by Northwest, and there's takeoffs on, God, it's San Francisco. It takes place in San Francisco too. So there's takeoffs on Vertigo, The Wrong Man. I mean, it's just one Hitchcock reference after another. And here's the thing I love about High Anxiety is you don't have to know Hitchcock that well. It's still a hysterically funny movie. I didn't know Hitchcock that well. Let me say that again. I didn't know Hitchcock that well the first time I saw High Anxiety, and I laughed my ass off.
And some of the humor in it, you kind of have to think a little bit, and it's very intelligent. Some of the humor is just slapstick. The salute to the birds is unforgettable. Absolutely unforgettable.
I love. Yeah, even thinking about it, I laugh. No, you don't need to know Hitchcock in order to love High Anxiety. Cloris Leachman. We talked about the brilliant wild child Cloris Brando, Cloris Leachman, aka Cloris Brando, who creates. I mean, if you love Young Frankenstein and Frau Blucher, then you ain't seen nothing yet. Because when you meet Nurse Diesel, this incredible creation of Cloris Leachman, where she wears this cone-shaped bra that points out, and she's got a little upper lip mustache, and she talks like this. Everything is, dinner is served promptly at 7. Those who are late do not get fruit cup. And then she's in an S&M relationship with Harvey Korman. And Madeline Kahn plays a Kim Novak type. She's this long blonde. Her name's Victoria Brisbane. And she's got this long blonde wig, and she talks very sultry. Get away from the door.
And her car matches her outfit.
Her car always matches her outfit. So she's in a plaid outfit. Her car is plaid. She's in a blue outfit. It is just outrageous, off the charts. So I think I'm going to go with my 5 because we can talk about Funny Girl some other time. I just talked about High Anxiety, and I'm glad we did. And maybe we can talk about High Anxiety and Blazing Saddles one time in an episode and go even deeper into the madness of Mel Brooks in these films.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, that was my 5. What's your 5?
Okay, now this one I'm going to admit will make people cringe. It's going to make people cringe. So I'm going to start by saying I have never seen the play. So I know that those that saw the play hated this movie, but my number 5 is Rent.
Oh.
It is based on the long-running play directed by Chris Columbus. He was specifically chosen by Jonathan Larson's family. They did a hunt for who they thought would be a good person to make this film. They chose Chris Columbus. I'm not going to say he did the best film, but here's why I like to watch this film. I love the cast. I absolutely love the cast. I love Adam Pascal, Anthony Rapp, Jesse L. Martin, Wilson Germain Heredia, Idina Menzel, Rosario Dawson.
So many of, except for Daphne Rubin Vega, the Broadway cast.
And there's one other too.
There's another one?
Yep. Tracy Thomas and Taye Diggs. Tracy Thomas was brought in and Rosario Dawson was brought in. When they were looking to cast the film, they looked at them and were like, they've barely aged.
Yeah.
So these are supposed to be folks in their late teens, early 20s, and they're much older than that, but they look great.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
But really what it comes down to is I love the music.
Oh, it's fabulous.
I know some of the songs were cut. Not all the songs are great. Maureen's song in her song with the television sets and everything just drives me absolutely insane. I have to fast forward through it. But some of the songs are just incredible. Adam Pascal, his voice just makes me melt. I'm not much of a rocker, but boy, his voice just grabs me.
One song? Oh, my God.
One song. Will You Light My Candle? Just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The William Germain Heredia and Jesse L. Martin, Cover You.
Yes.
Oh, what a beautiful, beautiful love song. It's just a lot of fun. So, no, it's not a great film. I know the story, so it moves me because I wasn't out during this time, and I was in a small area. This is a lot of the characters in this have HIV, and AIDS is very much prevalent in the society. So I get that part of it. I get a lot from that, seeing people having to accept and deal with people dying and their own mortality and being too young to deal with this, and so that grabs me on that personal level. And the music. Those are reasons why I can enjoy it. But if I'm just doing things, I can just enjoy the music. And if I really want to feel like I'm taken back to that time era, I can pay more attention. That's why this movie makes my number 5.
I love that. When you're saying all this stuff, you know what it's making me think of? It's making me think of The Boys in the Band, which is not a musical, by the way. Here's why it's making me think of Boys in the Band, besides the fact that both have gay characters, is that you have a theater piece which set the world on fire. I mean, Rent, even more than Boys in the Band. I mean, I saw Rent in the 90s. I remember how difficult it was to get tickets. Rent blew everything out of the water. It was the Hamilton of the 90s. And then by the time it was made into a movie, it's kind of over. You know what I mean? I think that was the problem with Rent. But here's the great thing is that they, as with Boys in the Band, they allowed these original cast members to preserve their historic performances for posterity. And I love that. I love that they kept so much of the original cast in this film, even if they are a little long in the tooth to be playing Alphabet City, urchins. What's that word? Where'd that word come from? You know what I'm saying? They are. And here's the other thing about how it makes me think of Boys in the Band is the fact, when the film of Rent was 2005, and the show was in the 90s. So the difference between the AIDS crisis in the 90s was much different than 2005. Kind of like The Boys in the Band. The Boys in the Band, the play taking place pre-Stonewall and the film being released post-Stonewall. So you have that. So it's very similar. I mean, I'm not going to make this about The Boys in the Band. We did a fabulous episode on Boys in the Band. People, please listen to it. It's great. If I do say so myself. But it kind of reminds me of when you're talking about how people don't like this movie. I think it's because of those things that happened. It was a different time, a different era. But I love the fact that this cast got to preserve their performances for posterity.
Yeah, and I think the reason why some people don't like the film is, one, because there are speaking parts which there were not in the original play, and because some of the songs were cut out.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And I've heard Chris Columbus state why they were cut out. It broke his heart to do so. He just felt that the film, it didn't work.
Other than My Fair Lady, I don't think there's ever been a film that did not have a movie musical version of a Broadway show, of a Broadway musical, that did not have cut. You have to. Otherwise, audiences just won't sit that long in the theater for singing. It just is true. So, that's very common, but people bitch about it. And okay, whatever. It's still a great preservation of this historic show.
I have a funny story to tell about this film.
Okay.
This film is based on the 1896 opera La Bohème. And Hope Foy is an opera singer who I know. She's 103 years old this year. And Hope was blacklisted for singer. She was blacklisted in the 50s. She ended up going to Europe and touring with Paul Robeson and some others. She's a wonderful woman. So I had Hope sit down with me and watch this movie. And I told her, this is based on La Bohème. That was such a mistake. When it ended, she looked over and she goes, "How dare you?" no. Oh, that drugs and sex. And
La Vie Boheme.
she was not. Love you, Hope, but no, she didn't take to this film at all. But
it's a modern take
yes,
on La Boheme. It's a modern take on La Boheme. It's like West Side Story is a different take on Romeo and Juliet, and people
exactly,
go, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's very true.
You're next.
All right, so all right. What are we up to? 4?
Yes.
Okay, so my number 4 is a little gem of a film from 1984 called Garbo Talks.
Never saw it.
Have you ever heard of it?
Yes, I have heard of it.
Okay, it's because it's directed by Sidney Lumet,
Yeah.
your director from Network.
And some of my favorite stars.
One of I believe it's Sidney Lumet's only comedy that he ever directed. If not the only, one of the very few. And yes, can we just talk about this cast for a minute? Anne Bancroft, Ron Silver, the divine Carrie Fisher. Yes, Carrie Fisher's in it. Catherine Hicks, Stephen Hill, Howard Da Silva, Harvey Fierstein in his first film role. And here are my 2 favorites. The wonderful Dorothy Loudon, who was the original Miss Hannigan in Annie on Broadway, and the unbelievable Hermione Gingold. For anybody who doesn't know who Hermione Gingold was, Hermione Gingold played Madame Alvarez in Gigi. Hermione Gingold was a wonderfully bawdy, hysterical British actress. And in Garbo Talks, she plays an ancient actress named Elizabeth Rennig.
That's okay.
And for her one scene alone is worth seeing Garbo Talks. But it's not about Hermione Gingold. Garbo Talks is about Anne Bancroft. Anne Bancroft plays a character named Estelle Rolfe, and she's a middle-aged divorced woman who's an outspoken social activist. And her son is played by Ron Silver. Now, you and I talked a bit about Ron Silver on our Rhoda's Wedding episode. I like Ron Silver a lot as an actor. I wasn't crazy about him on Rhoda, but he had a horrible character on Rhoda. He's very appealing. He's very appealing in Garbo Talks. His name is Gilbert. And for any of my classic movie friends out there, Gilbert, yes, he's named after John Gilbert because this film is called Garbo Talks. Why is this film called Garbo Talks? Because Anne Bancroft finds out she has terminal brain cancer. And her last wish is to meet her idol, Greta Garbo. So the film is basically about her son, Ron Silver's character, Gilbert, trying to track down the most elusive woman in the world at this time and get her to her mother's bedside before she dies. Now, that sounds kind of maudlin, I know, but I got to tell you, it's not. It's not. It's funny and quirky with this great group of actors. I mean, Harvey Fierstein, as I said, he plays a gay man that Ron Silver goes to Fire Island with to track down Garbo. It's just wonderful. And this movie was not a big hit. I want to say that right off the bat. It was not a huge hit. Not many people know about it. It's the most heartwarming, wonderful film. Anne Bancroft is so moving. She has a monologue at the end when she finally meets Garbo, and all we ever see is the back of Garbo. It's actually Betty Comden, who wrote "Singin' in the Rain." It's the back of her, and she's got this Garbo wig on. Ron Silver finds her at a flea market because Hermione Gingold, who plays this ancient actress who once worked with Garbo, said, "You might try the flea market on Fifth Avenue," or something like that. She always loved a bargain, and so he finds her. And he gives her this whole spiel about him. My mother's dying, and she's loved you her whole life, probably more than me. And Garbo goes to the bedside, and Anne Bancroft has this, it's got to be 2 or 3 minute monologue, which is just wonderful. It's funny and sad and moving and touching. And I just love this movie. I love this movie.
I adore Anne Bancroft.
Oh, she's wonderful in it. She's wonderful in it. They're all wonderful in it. The only one who doesn't have much to do really is Carrie Fisher. Carrie Fisher just kind of plays this, which is a shame. It's a real waste of Carrie Fisher. She just plays this kind of annoying, she plays Ron Silver's wife who eventually leaves him because she doesn't understand why he's doing all these crazy things to find Garbo. He loses his job. He takes another job as a delivery boy to try to find Garbo. It's a wonderful film. I can't recommend it highly enough. I don't know that we'll ever talk about it on the show, but I'd love to sometime and go into it. But it's just a wonderful, heartwarming film to watch.
Well, a few years ahead, we may get to it.
It'd be nice.
We are not going to ever do Gigi, are we?
I wasn't on my list, but I know it gives you the
Well, the
cringe.
reason I'm
He's
asking-
very cringeworthy. I know that.
Yeah, you know, my husband's name is Maurice. I don't know if you know his last name.
Yes. Is it not? It's not Chevalier, is it?
Yes, it is. His name is Maurice Chevalier.
His name is Maurice Chevalier.
Yes, and he was born almost exactly 9 months after the death of Maurice Chevalier.
Oh my God. That's
Though he
freaky.
can't sing, I will tell you that. But
Did they name him Maurice on purpose?
yes, they named him Maurice Chevalier on purpose. After
Poor Maurice.
his brother's named Marcel after Marcel Marceau.
But it's not. But it's Marcel Chevalier. I mean, come on.
No, I'll tell you, when we meet 80-year-old women, they adore him.
Well, you know.
But
thank
anyway,
heaven.
because of that, he made me watch Gigi, and it was 2 of the most painful hours of my life.
Well, it's an interesting film. It's basically My Fair Lady on film, in a way. There's parts of it I love, but yeah, it's also, in 2024, there's something a little cringy about this 78-year-old man singing "Thank Heaven for Little Girls." So you have to kind of divorce yourself from that. There are things. It won Best Film. It was a huge, huge hit. So it has a lot of appealing aspects. But anyway, that's my number 4. Not Gigi. Garbo Talks.
Yep. So moving on. My number 4, I thought we were number 3. I got confused. My number 4 is Ant-Man, starring Paul Rudd.
I knew it.
This is a 2015 comedy superhero film directed by Peyton Reed. It is a Marvel film. It is part of the Avengers. Ant-Man became an Avenger. Has Paul Rudd and Paul Rudd. It also has Michael Douglas, Evangeline Lilly, Corey Stoll, and Michael Pena.
You do love your Paul Rudd.
I do. And that is one of the reasons. That's probably the reason I watched this film. I love and adore Paul Rudd. But one unfortunate thing about Paul Rudd that makes him so charming is he has real sophomore humor. I don't. So it's adorable that he does, but I don't like most of his films. He makes some really bad films.
He does.
Because this was a Marvel film, he was allowed to be charming Paul Rudd because that is what Paul Rudd is. They have to allow that, but they kept him in line. It's kind of like when with Jim. I can't stand Jim Carrey, but when he's had producers and directors that have kept him in control, he's a great actor.
Strong director.
That's the way Paul Rudd would. Yeah, and that's the way Paul Rudd is here. He's just charming. The other thing I like about this is it is a superhero film, but it's also a really good heist film.
Yeah.
Because Ant-Man eventually becomes one of the Avengers, and he's later in the Avengers films, and he helps save the world. But this movie could stand by itself, and it does. And even the second film, which I didn't like nearly as much, it could stand by itself. So it is good in that sense that it is very different from the other films. It has a lot more humor. Paul Rudd in Ant-Man is kind of like the Marvel films' comedic sidekick. And he was even that in the Avengers films. He had some funny... They always toss a little bit of humor in there, but Ant-Man was the one that really had the stupid funny lines. Like when they had to do time travel, he goes, wait a minute, Back to the Future is bullshit? That kind of thing. So it's just a lot of fun. The cast is really good. You don't have to see any other Avengers films. There may be a few things that you won't get, but you'll pass over them pretty quickly.
I guess it wouldn't surprise you to hear that I've never seen Ant-Man.
No, it wouldn't, but it's a good film. Michael Douglas plays Hank Pym, who in the comic strips the comic books was the original Ant-Man. Mm-hmm. And later he did pass it down to, oh my God, I can't think of the character's name, but the character that Paul Rudd plays. So in this movie, Michael Douglas is the aging Ant-Man who needs to bring back the Ant-Man to complete this heist, basically almost to save the world. And so he brings in Paul Rudd, who is a second story man, cat burglar, who is kind of confusing. Like, did he have a criminal background or not? You think he has one crime, but they act like he had a million crimes. It's very odd there. It's pretty sloppily written in that sense, but it's just fun. It's fun. And I can just sit there and just smile, and I'd have to pay full attention.
That's
I know when to watch.
That's the definition of the go-to.
Paul beefed up for this role. They only have him shirtless for 1 second, but typical Marvel, they made him.
Is that worth it?
Work out for that one scene. I think it is. They did make him wax, not entirely, which is a bit disappointing.
Oh, they always do.
But it's, yeah.
Poor Chris Evans.
Not as much as they did with, they didn't make him wax as much as Chris Evans. They did make him,
Jesus.
But they did wax him, and he looks incredible. Yeah. And his face is just gorgeous. And he's so charming.
I will take your word for it. Maybe I'll watch Ant-Man sometime because I do admire Paul Rudd. I'm not quite as gaga over him as you are, but I do think he's a fun actor, and I've liked a lot of his stuff. The Object of My Affection, which is a wonderful film he made in the '90s with Jennifer Aniston, in which he plays a gay character, is a really charming film. And so I do like Paul Rudd a lot. I really do. All right, so my number 3, Brad has it down as The Long, Long Trailer, which is a 1954 comedy starring Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz. But that's a MacGuffin, Brad.
Oh, really?
Oh, I'm pulling a switch on you.
Oh.
Because as much as I love The Long, Long Trailer, which is basically a long, long I Love Lucy in color, and it really is.
Yes.
I'm pulling a switch on you. My number 3 is actually an episode of The Lucy Show. Yes!
Oh.
Fooled ya.
That.
From the first season of The Lucy Show. My go-to episode whenever and I think people who are familiar with us and know that I was on Queer We Are, and we talked about my love for Lucy and my love for The Lucy Show the first season. This is my absolute favorite from the first season. If I'm ever feeling blue or down or depressed, I put on episode 12 of The Lucy Show, season 1, Lucy and Her Electric Mattress. Just saying that title makes me laugh. Lucy and Her Electric Mattress.
It sounds like a porn film.
Who's lowbrow here? Brad's number 1 film is Network. Network by Patty Chayefsky. Tony, Lucy and Her Electric Mattress. It originally aired on December 17th, 1962. And here's the thing, and we talked a little bit about this on Queer We Are, but what I love about the first season of The Lucy Show is that it pretty much is I Love Lucy distilled into a fine wine because there's no Ricky and no Fred to get in the way. It's purely the relationship between these two women. And it really takes it to another level. So it's like Lucy and Ethel at another level. And Lucille Ball and Vivian Vance have never been more Lucy and Ethel on The Lucy Show than they are in this episode. They are working at their utmost. There are 2 big block comedy scenes in this show, which is another reason why it's such a great, great show. There is not a moment wasted. The basic premise is that Lucy, in the Lucy Show, Vivian plays Vivian Bagley. She's renting a room with her son Sherman. He has a room too. In Lucy's house. They're longtime friends. She's a divorcee, television's first divorcee. Lucy's a widow. So people liked it because just like they didn't want people to think that Mary Tyler Moore divorced Dick Van Dyke, they didn't mind that Vivian Vance divorced Bill Frawley because everybody knew how much they despised each other. So anyway, Viv is renting a room in Lucy's house, and she's sleeping on the same mattress that Lucy slept on when Lucy was a teenager. So she needs a new mattress. She goes away for the weekend, and Lucy decides to be magnanimous and buy a brand new mattress for Viv. And it's one of those newfangled electric mattresses. And not only that, she's going to redo Vivian's room. She's not only getting her a new mattress, she's waxing the floor, she's washing the curtains, she's making it spectacular. So the electric mattress arrives. And Lucy's kind of tired. She's been working all day getting this room ready, so she decides she's going to try it out. Well, she just waxed the floors too, and she was a little overzealous in her waxing. So the first brilliant comic scene is Lucy climbs on the electric mattress and pushes the button, begins to fall asleep, and the mattress, of course, takes on a life of its own. And Lucy is trapped on this moving mattress as it volleys back and forth across the wax floor, bumping up on walls. And I think she goes, wait, what, one cotton pick a minute here. What's going on? And she's trying to get control of this mattress as it's just such a brilliant physical. Lucille Ball at her best, having this realistic, believable situation that she's just trying to figure out, how the hell do I get out of this? She eventually gets out of it. At one point, she jumps on the mattress and she grabs the broom that she was just using to sweep and uses it as a rowboat. And she tries to row the mattress back against the wall, and she eventually grabs the cord and pulls the plug out, and it dies. So that's scene number 1. Scene number 2 is probably the more famous one. Vivian her car breaks down, and she unexpectedly arrives home in the middle of the night. Now, Lucy has sent the electric mattress back to get a regular mattress, but it hasn't arrived yet. So Vivian goes up to get into her bed and falls over because there's no mattress there. Well, the only other place she can either sleep with Lucy in Lucy's bed, which she doesn't want to do because she says, Lucy hogs the covers and, she didn't want to sleep with Lucy. So they decide, and this is the logic of the Lucy show. The only other place they can sleep are the boys' twin bunk beds. So you can see where this is going. They fight over who gets the top bunk. Vivian is afraid of heights, so she wants to sleep in the bottom, but it's too close, so she's got claustrophobia. She's not sure about that. So anyway, it's the episode with Lucy on the stilts. So if anybody knows what I'm talking about, Lucy has to get, Viv's fast asleep. Lucy has to get back to the top bunk. The ladder is missing. The boys are using it at their treehouse. She spies her son's stilts. And Lucille Ball gets on the stilts, and that's all you need to know. It's one of the most hysterically funny bit of physical comedy. And what really makes it funny is Vivian Vance. Vivian Vance's reactions when she finally wakes up and sees Lucy coming at her on these stilts. It's Vivian Vance basically saying, what the fuck is wrong with this woman?
Vivian Vance is the best thing that ever happened to Lucy.
It's just these two working together. I've said it a million times. I'll say it 1,000,001. Laurel and Hardy ain't got nothing on Ball and Vance. They are a comedy genius team. So that's my number 3 go-to is Lucy and her electric mattress. You can watch it on YouTube. I know you can watch it on Hulu. I'm sure. Watch it. If you really want to see these two geniuses at their peak, watch it.
And before I go to mine, I'm going to tell you something that's going to make you very happy. Mm-hmm. My mother-in-law has discovered YouTube.
Oh, yeah?
So I very frequently will walk into the family room and she's discovered the Lucy show on YouTube.
Oh, yay!
And I go in there and she's laughing and I'll stop and I laugh. So.
Don't let her watch the last 3 seasons. Once Viv leaves, the show goes down.
I saw a reunion show where Viv came back.
That's kind of funny.
It was pretty.
Okay. Well, yeah, because they're showing clips from the first 2 seasons. But once Viv leaves and Lucy moves to California with Mr. Mooney. It's the guest star show. It's who's the next guest star who's going to walk in the door.
That got very tiring. That's actually what the next series became.
Oh, totally. I mean,
entirely.
we talked about this before. So I hope just let her watch the first season for sure, the black and white ones, and then the following 2 are pretty good too. Good for her.
So my number 3, we don't even have to spend time on it. It's going to be very quick and easy. Deadpool.
There we go.
And the reason why I like it is because, I told you how much I love this film. But if I am just going to lay down and just want to watch something to make me laugh for a few minutes, it's one of those movies that I don't feel bad if I don't watch the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And so, like, if I'm on a train or waiting in line and I'm not in the mood to read or, I don't want to listen to a podcast and I get tired of scrolling through Facebook, I'll just pop that in and laugh for a few times and then go on. Because I know every line. So I don't even have to hear it to laugh, even though I do listen to it. But I'm laughing before he even says them. So it never gets old. And that's why it's my number 3. It's just simple, quick, easy. I enjoy it.
Well, like you, my last 2 are going to be pretty fast too. Because number 2 for me is Singin' in the Rain. For the same reasons I said it was one of my, it's in my top 5 of favorite films. And when I'm feeling a little depressed and down, nothing will pull me out of my doldrums better than Gene Hagen saying, "People, I ain't people." So, all you gotta do is put that movie on or see Debbie Reynolds, young 19-year-old Debbie Reynolds singing All I Do Is Dream of You. She's so, oh my God. And of course, there is the Singin' in the Rain number. Yeah, we know about that. But Good Morning, the 3 of them dancing and the legendary stories of what Debbie Reynolds went through. Debbie Reynolds wasn't a dancer. She had to learn to dance, not only to dance on film, but to dance with Gene Kelly and Donald O'Connor in unison. It wasn't like she was off doing some dance so somebody would know that if she misstepped. No, she's dancing in unison with Gene Kelly and Donald O'Connor. So if you're in the doldrums, if you're feeling sad, go to YouTube, put Good Morning, Singin' in the Rain. You'll be smiling. I guarantee it.
Next on my list is What's Up, Doc? And I don't have too much to say other than it's just an incredible movie. This is not a movie that I watched by myself. This is one of the movies when Maurice and I are like, what do you want to watch? I don't know. What do you want to watch? Well, I don't know what to watch. After spending 45 minutes scrolling through Netflix and not deciding anything, we're like, let's put on What's Up, Doc. And we sit there and we laugh just as hard as the last time.
Well, that's the definition of a go-to movie, right? Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
That's like with me.
That is what that film is.
My number 1, it's Grey Gardens. And it's just because, I think I'm probably a freak in this fact that I find that Grey Gardens does so many things to me, not only because I feel like, I know these people so well, but it gives me it's at this point in my life, it's kind of weird to say it. It's kind of like going home when I put in Grey Gardens. I mean, I wouldn't mind calling Grey Gardens. I know. I wouldn't mind calling Grey Gardens my home the way it is now. But I think it also has a lot to do with Jerry, my dear friend Jerry, the Marble Fawn, and just the feelings I have and the adventures that we've had. So yeah, my go-to will always be my go-to number one. If I'm ever feeling a little sad, I'll put on Grey Gardens, and just seeing Edie with that flag do that BMI march that she choreographed, but still looks like she doesn't know what the hell she's doing, brings me up every single time. So that's it. That's our list. Or do you have one more?
No, I have my number one.
You have one more. Okay. Sorry about that. What is it?
The Birdcage.
Oh, surprise, surprise.
1996 comedy, directed by Mike Nichols, remake of and based on the La Cage aux Folles. Robin Williams, Nathan Lane, Gene Hackman, incredible Diane West, who I think was the funniest part of this film. It's hard to even believe that. Daniel Futterman, who I love and adore, and I can't take my eyes off of him. And Callista Flockhart, maybe her first role, or one of the very first. I think it said introducing Callista Flockhart.
Probably. Well, probably her first film, yeah.
This is one of those films, at one time Steel Magnolias would have made this list. It's one of those films where I know every single line of this film. And I can talk to somebody and we start seeing the lines and we're laughing and laughing and laughing. You talk to me in that contemptuous tone that says, you are a man and I'm a woman. You're not a woman. You bastard!
You know what I think is amazing about The Birdcage? Is who would have ever thought that any entity on Earth could steal a movie from Robin Williams? I mean, who ever thought that someone would be able to take a film away from Robin Williams? But Nathan Lane? I mean, come on. So, I mean, for that reason alone, you got to see Birdcage. I mean, the genius that is Nathan Lane, and thank God he had a film to preserve this genius of Nathan Lane, because Nathan Lane does a lot of TV. I love him on Modern Family as Pepper. He's hysterically funny as Pepper. Pepper Saltzman. It's so funny. That's his name. Pepper Saltzman. But, I mean, this is Nathan Lane to the nth degree. Nathan Lane does so much theater. He's a brilliant theatrical actor, but he's preserved in The Birdcage. I love The Birdcage. I do too.
Again, I don't have to watch the whole thing because I know every line, and everybody is cast so beautifully. My God, Gene Hackman is wonderful in this film.
He is. I love Gene Hackman.
I mean, Maurice will just sit there, and all of a sudden he'll just say out of the blue, at the end of the movie when they're at the wedding, and the drag queen leans over to the other drag queen and looks over where all the conservatives are obviously sitting, and she goes, "Bob Dole is gorgeous." And the other queen kind of looks at her like she's crazy. Maurice will, out of the blue, he'll just say, "Bob Dole is gorgeous." And we crack up because it's just so absurd.
The only thing that bothers me about The Birdcage is I kind of think it precludes now a film version of La Cage aux Folles, which I think there needs to be. Maybe enough time has gone by. I mean, we're talking 30 years here, that there could be a film version of La Cage aux Folles. When La Cage aux Folles is, for people who don't know, is The Birdcage is basically the non-musical version of La Cage aux Folles. It's the same story. It's based on a French film, La Cage aux Folles. 2 French films, actually. And I think that kind of precludes it, which is a shame. I often wonder why they did that. Why didn't they just make a film version of this incredible musical called La Cage aux Folles? Why did they make it? I don't know. It's there's a long history with The Birdcage and Mike Nichols and all that stuff, which we can go into if we ever do the Birdcage film. But I always wonder about that.
I don't know if it would have sold. Not like this did. This is very Americanized, and I'm okay with that.
You're right. And this was remember, after, in the early 2000s, there was always the music. There was Chicago. There was Hairspray. There were these, there were always the one musical. So this was kind of before that. So maybe that wasn't tested. But I hope somebody does do a musical version, a film version of, let's see how Wicked does. By the way, I saw the trailer for Wicked last night. Wow.
Yeah, wow. I agree.
I cannot wait. Cynthia Erivo, our pal Johnny Bailey. Incredible. It looks amazing.
Yeah, I have started following Jonathan on Instagram, and every time I see a picture or video, I'm just like, oh, Jonathan. I got to come back to earth here. Okay.
Little Johnny Bailey. Yeah. Well, that was pretty interesting that we did that. That was kind of cool. I enjoyed that very much.
Now I have some movies from your list that, I guess I'll have to wait because we're going to do them on the show sometime.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll ever do Garbo Talks on the show. I think that it's a pretty tall order for kind of a little bit, a sliver of a film. But that doesn't mean I don't recommend it. And that doesn't mean I don't think it's a wonderful little film to watch. I do adore it. I do adore it.
Well, next episode, we'll be back to I don't remember which one is coming up.
Our usual format.
Our usual format. We may do some more.
We'll return to our regular scheduled programming.
Exactly. We'll do some other countdowns up ahead. We've made lists of possibilities down the road. We haven't really gone into depth, but maybe some others. Like our favorite Oscar contenders, our favorite Oscar losers, that sort of thing.
Misunderstood films. Yeah. We're going to try to spice it up a little bit and not just do film, TV show, film, TV show. I like that idea.
So in the show notes is the link. You can text us a message. We can't text back, but send us a message and let us know who you are. If you have suggestions on maybe some of these lists or movies you want us to look at or TV shows, you can also go to goinghollywoodpodcast.com. It would really be fun if you left a voicemail message. There's a little microphone you click on. You can leave us a voicemail. We can play it on the show. If not, there's also a contact form. Any of the three, please get in touch with us. We love hearing from you.
That would be fun.
And go to Facebook and Instagram and start following us.
That would be fun. And don't forget our Spotify playlist. I think this might be populated with a couple songs from some films that we talked about that I can't sing. So, well, if that's it, Brad, just one more thing to say, but I don't want to say it. So let's not say goodbye, Brad. Let's just say au revoir.
No, let's say goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody.
That's all, folks.